When my sister's husband drove away, he left the garage keypad blinking. I pressed the button to reset it, and her son spoke a full name, first and last. I opened my notebook, wrote the name down, and matched it to a line from a payroll ledger. If that name surfaced publicly, it would prove I was used as cover. The ledger showed hours approved on days I was not even in town. My phone buzzed with a message from a family attorney asking for a quick clarification. 18. I stood there with my thumb on the keypad until the light went solid. The house settled into its evening noises. The refrigerator hummed. A car passed on Oak Ridge Drive. My sister stared at her hands like they belonged to someone else. Her son stood by the kitchen table corner, fingers pressed flat on the wood. He did not look scared. He looked certain. That was new. I pulled the notebook closer and checked the time twice. 6:21. The same minute the garage door had closed. I wrote it down because that was my habit. I work attendance records. Time matters more than tone. On the counter sat a red folder tab sticking out of a stack of mail. I slid it free and felt the edge catch my finger. Inside was nothing official, just folded pages and a divider with a date written in blue ink. The date made my stomach tighten. It was a school day when I had been clocked in all morning. I wrote his name twice. My sister finally looked up. "Did he really say that?" she asked. Her voice shook on the word really, like she wanted it to mean imaginary. "He did," I said. I did not add anything else. I did not need to. Her son climbed onto the chair and traced a circle on the table. He repeated the name again, slower this time, as if he were teaching it to us. Then he went quiet, like a switch had been flipped back. I checked the timestamps again. The ledger page I had printed weeks ago for my own records showed approvals under my initials. Neat. Consistent. Wrong. My phone buzzed again. A second message. Same number. The attorney asked if I was available tomorrow morning before work. That blue ink date felt like a trap. I thought about the way my brother-in-law always volunteered to handle paperwork. The way he insisted on keeping things simple for my sister. The way he joked about my job giving me access to everything. Its hind-eye side. At the time, it had felt like pride. Now it felt like placement. I slid the red folder tab back into the stack and squared the edges. My sister watched my hands like she was memorizing them. She nodded once, sharp, like a decision had been made without words. "What do we do?" she asked. I picked up the notebook and closed it. "We don't answer tonight," I said. "We write everything down." Her son tapped the table twice and smiled at nothing. The sound landed heavier than the words had. I set my phone face down and pushed it away, then pulled it back to read the screen again. A missed call. Voicemail. The transcript preview showed one line before it cut off. "Ask Victor Shaw about May 3rd. Sunday came with the same smells it always did. Coffee, fabric softener, and the lemon cleaner my sister used on the kitchen table corner like it could erase a week. I stood at that corner, phone in my hand, replaying the voicemail transcript in my head. Ask Victor Shaw about May 3rd. I slid the red folder tab across the table toward me and tucked it into my tote bag beside my notebook. My sister watched the zipper like it was a mouth closing. "You do not have to come," I told her. She shook her head once. Then she touched her son's hair, careful, like she was checking if he would break. He stared at the wall and stayed quiet, like last night had cost him something. We drove to the community hall behind the church in my old sedan, the one with the crack across the right side of the windshield. The parking lot was already full. Sunlight flashed off minivans. People carried casserole dishes like offerings. My sister held a foil pan in her lap, gripping it so tight the lid dimpled. I checked the time twice at the red light. 10:42. The fundraiser started at 11. At the entrance, folding tables made a narrow hallway. Clipboards, name tags, a basket for cash donations. Women's group lead Sharon Pruitt stood there with a bright smile that never reached her eyes. "Jordan," Sharon said, drawing my name out. "We have been praying." I nodded, kept my face smooth, and placed my sister's foil pan on the table. My sister stood half a step behind me, shoulders tucked inward, like she wanted to disappear into my shadow. Pastor Ray Caldwell moved through the crowd in a pressed shirt, handshakes ready. Deacon Thomas Givens held a stack of programs. Choir director Leela Monroe adjusted a microphone stand near the front. A familiar laugh cut through the room like a match strike. Casey Nguyen was working the drink station with plastic cups and a roll of paper towels, hair clipped up, eyes sharp. She spotted me and mouthed, "You okay?" I did not answer. I just lifted my notebook slightly, then slid it back into my bag. My sister's husband walked in 15 minutes late, like the room belonged to him anyway. He wore the same calm he used when he talked to teachers and bank clerks. He did not look at my sister first. He looked at me. Beside him was Aunt Lorna Keats, holding his elbow like she was guiding him through a crowd. Lorna's mouth tightened when she saw my sister. Then she leaned in close to him and whispered something that made him smile. My stomach went cold. Family lie. Family protection. Same old choreography. Simone Price arrived next, heels clicking on the tile, a slim folder under her arm. Family attorney Simone Price did not blend in here. She moved like a person with appointments after this. She came straight to me. "Jordan Reyes?" I nodded. She held out the folder, not opening it yet. "I got your message late last night." Action. "I did not message you," I said. Her eyes flicked toward my sister's husband. Then back to me. "Then someone used your number." I reached into my bag, fingers closing around the red folder tab like it could anchor me. My sister's husband stepped closer, voice low enough to sound private, loud enough to be heard. "This is not the place," he said. He did not mean my sister. He meant witnesses. Sharon's smile sharpened. People around us slowed their movements. I felt the air change. That church lobby silence. The one that waits for a story. My sister's husband put his hand lightly on my sister's shoulder, like ownership. She flinched, a tiny recoil, and he pretended not to notice. Lorna spoke first, loud and sweet. "We are all just trying to help her through this." My sister stared at the floor. Then Sharon did what Sharon always did. She made it public. She turned her body toward the cluster of women with clipboards and said, "It is a shame what some people do behind closed doors." My sister's husband exhaled like relief, like the room was doing his work for him. Sharon's eyes locked on me. Her voice lifted, clean and cruel. "He's covering for you because you helped him cheat her." A few heads snapped toward us. Pastor Caldwell paused mid-handshake. Deacon Givens stopped flipping programs. Lila Monroe's fingers froze on the microphone stand. Casey's cup hovered in midair. My sister's hands shook against the foil pan, so hard it rattled. I pulled my phone out, thumb hovering over the screen, not calling anyone, just holding it like a weapon I was not supposed to have here. My sister's husband watched my thumb, then smiled. I looked Sharon straight on. My voice came out steady. "Say it once more, on record." The room made a sound like a breath held. Sharon blinked, offended by the idea that her words had weight. Simone's folder shifted in her hand. She angled her body. Not to protect me, but to see better. My sister's husband leaned closer. That was control. A hand on the throat. A warning dressed as concern. I opened my tote bag and pulled out the red folder tab. I placed it on the check-in table with a flat slap that made the clipboards jump. Then I slid out the divider page with the date in blue ink and held it up so Simone could see it. May 3rd was written in blue ink. Simone's eyes narrowed. "Where did this come from?" "My sister's kitchen counter," I said. Lorna's face drained of color. She reached for the page, but I lifted it higher, away from her fingers. My sister's husband's smile stayed on, but his jaw tightened. He was doing math in his head. Witnesses, damage, escape routes. "Victor Shaw is our payroll manager," he said, too quickly, like the title could bury the name. "This is nothing." "It is not nothing," Simone said, and for the first time, her tone cut. I turned the divider page over. A small label was taped to it, the kind used for folders in an office supply store. Approved by Jordan. May 3rd. My stomach rolled. That was my name. My handwriting was not that neat. Casey set a cup down with a hard click. Jordan does not approve anything, she said, eyes on my face. She counts kids and excuses. Pastor Caldwell finally moved, stepping closer like a man trying to stop a fire with prayer. Let us speak privately, he started. No, Simone said, and it landed heavy in the church lobby. My sister's husband's eyes flashed toward the doors, toward air, toward control again. I pulled one more thing from my bag, a printed bank statement I had grabbed that morning from my mailbox. I had not opened it in the car. I opened it now, in front of everyone, fingers tearing the perforation like it had insulted me. 3 deposits, $2.98 each. Split, like someone thought small numbers meant small consequences. I ran my finger under the line items, then held the page out toward Noelle Harper, the loan officer, who had just walked in behind Simone and stopped short like she had hit a wall. Noel's eyes flicked over the statement once, twice. Her mouth tightened. That was a banker's face when the story stops making sense. My sister's husband stepped between us, hand out, palm open. Give me that. I pulled the page back and folded it once, slow. Simone lifted her folder, finally opening it. Inside was a hearing notice. The first line on the page had a docket number and a date, clean and official. On that hearing notice, my home address sat under contact in black type. I drove home with my sister in the passenger seat and the red folder tab on my lap. The church air clung to my clothes like perfume I did not choose. My phone sat face down in the cup holder, vibrating once in a while, like it was trying to crawl out. My sister's son stared out the window at nothing. His mouth stayed closed. His small hand kept rubbing the seatbelt strap, back and forth, until the fabric went shiny. At a stop sign, I checked the time twice. 11:58. Then again. 11:58. My heart did not trust my eyes anymore. When we got to my sister's house, I carried the foil pan inside and set it on the stove, like we had actually come home from a normal event. My sister went straight to the kitchen table corner and sat down hard. Her shoulders rose and fell like stairs. I pulled the hearing notice from Simone's folder copy she had let me photograph with my phone. I did not zoom in yet. I just held the screen close and read the black type line by line. My home address under contact. I set the phone down, opened my notebook, and wrote the docket number exactly as it appeared. Then I wrote the date. Then I wrote Victor Shaw's name underneath, because the voicemail had put him on my tongue and I could not shake it. My address was printed like it belonged to the lie. My sister stared at the red folder tab. "Why would they put you there?" she asked. "I do not know," I said, and I hated how small it sounded. Her son climbed onto his chair again, same as last night, like the chair was a stage he understood now. He touched the edge of my notebook with one finger and whispered, "May 3rd, and..." My pen froze above the page. "You heard that?" I asked him, keeping my voice soft. He nodded once, then added, clear as a bell, "Front desk lady." My sister's eyes widened. "He went somewhere?" she said. But the question landed on me, not him. My sister's husband had always been the one to drop him off. Always. He said the mornings were too much for my sister. I stood up, opened the junk drawer by the sink, and slid aside batteries and old coupons until my fingers hit a hard plastic sleeve, a spare keycard sleeve from my school job. The edges were worn from being handled. I did not remember bringing it home. I pinched it between two fingers like it might burn me. I checked the time twice again. 12:07. Then I did the thing I hate doing. I called my workplace. The front office line rang 3 times before it clicked. A voice answered, cautious. "This is Jordan Reyes," I said. "I need to know if my name is attached to any visitor logs." Silence. Not dead silence. Working silence. Papers moving. A keyboard tapping. "Hold," the voice said. I stood at the kitchen table corner and watched my sister's son push a toy car along a crack in the wood. He followed that crack like it was a road with rules. When the line picked back up, it was not the front office voice. It was Victor Shaw. He did not say hello. He said my full name like a receipt being read aloud. Jordan Reyes. I tightened my grip on the phone until my knuckles went pale. "Why are you answering the attendance line?" I asked. "Because your extension forwards after hours," he said. "And because I was expecting your call." My stomach flipped. "You were expecting it?" "Yes," he said, calm. "Simone Price called me from the church lobby." I looked at my sister. She was watching my face like she was reading subtitles. "What is May 3rd?" I asked. Victor's breath went slow, like he was choosing a version of the truth that would fit in my ear. "It is the day your name went on a corrective action form." My throat went dry. "I do not have a corrective action form." "You do," he said, "in your file." I pulled my notebook close and wrote the words corrective action form like I could pin them down. "You are payroll," I said. "Why would you have anything in my file?" There was a pause. Then Victor said, "Because it was sent to Human Resources, and Human Resources sent it to payroll because the allegation was time theft." The words hit like cold water. Time theft, my job, my habit, my timestamps. My sister made a small sound, like she had swallowed wrong. Victor kept talking. "It says you approved overtime on days you were not present." I stared at the red folder tab. The divider label, approved by Jordan. May 3rd. "That is not my handwriting," I said. "I know," Victor replied, too fast. The speed of that answer made my skin prickle. "How do you know?" I asked. Victor exhaled. "Because I saw the original." My pulse jumped. "You saw it where?" "In a packet," he said. "Brought in by your brother-in-law." My hand went numb around the phone. I heard my sister inhale through her teeth. "My brother-in-law. Her husband. He brought in a packet about me," I said. Victor's voice stayed flat, like he was reading a policy. "He said you asked him to handle it. He said you were overwhelmed." My sister shook her head hard, once, like she was trying to knock the sentence out of the air. "I never asked him," I said. "I never told him anything." "I understand," Victor said, and that was worse. It sounded practiced. I opened the red folder tab and slid the divider page onto the table. I pressed my finger onto the blue ink date and rubbed, just to see if it would smear. "Where is this corrective action form?" I asked. Victor hesitated. Papers shifted on his end. Then he said, "Human Resources Director will only release it in person." "Then, schedule it," I said. "It is already scheduled," Victor replied. "Tomorrow. 8:15 in the morning." My mouth went cold. "For who?" "For you," he said. "And for him." 80. I pulled the phone away from my ear and stared at the screen, like I could see his face through it. "For him," I repeated. Victor's voice dropped lower. "He listed himself as your support person." My sister pushed back from the table so fast her chair scraped. Her hands flew to her mouth like she was holding something in. Her son watched her, then looked at me and said, "He said, you signed." The room tilted. "What did you say?" I asked him. He blinked slowly, then repeated, careful, like he was placing blocks. "He said you signed it. In the truck." My eyes went to the spare keycard sleeve in my hand, the plastic edges, the school logo, the thing I did not remember bringing home. I checked the time twice. 12:22. Then again, 12:22. Because he had been collecting my routines like tools. 8:15. Room 214. Nadine Brooks. I barely slept. I lay on my sister's couch with my shoes lined up by the door, watching the microwave clock click from 2:13 to 2:14 like it was mocking me. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that line again. Room 214. Nadine Brooks. At 6:05 the morning, I rinsed my face in the bathroom sink and stared at my own pupils like they might confess something. I brewed coffee too strong, poured it into a travel mug, and set my notebook on the kitchen table corner. My sister watched me from the doorway, arms wrapped around herself. Her son sat cross-legged on the rug with a toy car, rolling it over and over the same crack in the wood floor. He did not speak. He did not need to. He had already detonated the quiet. I slid the red folder tab toward me and opened it like a file at work. Divider page. Blue ink date. The small label with my name on it. I tapped the paper twice with my finger, then checked the time twice out of habit. 7:12. Then again. 7:12. My phone buzzed with a calendar invite I did not remember accepting. The subject line was plain, like a trap dressed as routine. Meeting. 8:15. Room 2:14. I clicked it open and felt my throat tighten. The location field spelled it out. Clean and official. Nadine Brooks. Human Resources Director. No option to reply. No option to decline. The invite had my name, like I had asked for it. My sister's voice came thin. If he goes in with you, he will talk for me, I finished. I hated how obvious it was now. I drove alone. The morning traffic on the frontage road crawled past gas stations and a donut shop that always smelled burnt. I stopped for a breakfast taco I did not eat and kept the receipt anyway, folding it into my wallet like proof I existed outside this mess. At 7:48, I parked behind my workplace and sat there with the engine off. My hands were still on the steering wheel when I checked the time twice again. The second hand felt personal. I did not walk straight to room 214. I went to my desk first, because fear loves a routine. I unlocked my drawer, pulled out my attendance log binder, and ran my fingers along the tabs like they could steady me. Then I went to the front office and asked the receptionist, "Is Nadine Brooks in today?" The receptionist's smile stiffened. "She is expecting you. Just 5 and close." That word again. Expecting. I turned before my face could betray me and walked down the hallway that always smelled like copier toner. My shoes made quiet clicks on the tile. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, constant and uncaring. Room 214 sat at the end of the hall, door shut, a small window showing a sliver of a conference table. I held my notebook against my stomach like armor and knocked once. "Come in," a woman's voice said. Nadine Brooks was not what my mind had pictured. She was calm, hair pinned back, a pen lined up with a yellow legal pad like she had measured it. On the table sat a manila folder and a clear plastic sleeve with papers inside. Across from her sat my sister's husband. He looked comfortable, like he had been there early, like he belonged in this room more than I did. He stood halfway, hands open. "Jordan." "Hey." I did not take his hand. I pulled out a chair and sat, placing my notebook flat on the table and setting my phone beside it. Small, deliberate movements, my body trying to claim a space. Nadine's eyes flicked to my phone, then to my notebook. "You brought notes," she said. "I bring notes for everything," I replied. My sister's husband smiled like we shared a joke. "She is organized," he told Nadine, like he was my manager. Nadine slid the manila folder toward me, without opening it. "This meeting is about a corrective action form filed May 3rd, she said. "It alleges time theft and unauthorized approvals." The words landed heavy even though I had already heard them. Hearing them in this room made them feel sharper. I opened my notebook and wrote May 3rd at the top of a clean page. Then I wrote Nadine Brooks underneath, because names matter when you are about to be buried. My sister's husband leaned in, voice gentle. "I told them you were under stress," he said. "I said you asked me to help." "That is not true," I said, and my voice did not shake. "I never asked you." He exhaled like I had disappointed him. "Jordan, you were panicking. You called me." "I did not," I said. Nadine's pen tapped once. "We can review the packet," she said, still calm. "There is documentation." She reached into the clear plastic sleeve and pulled out a single page with a header and a signature line. She did not hand it to me yet. She held it the way people hold something dangerous. My sister's husband watched my face. I set my phone to record audio, face down, not to be dramatic, to be safe. My sister's husband noticed anyway. His smile tightened. Nadine said, "Before I release this, I need to confirm your support person." "My support person is not him," I said. His head snapped toward me. "Jordan." Nadine looked from him to me. He listed himself. she said. That is why he is here. I slid my chair back an inch, just enough to break the triangle. Then I pulled the red folder tab from my tote bag and placed it on the table between us. Nadine's gaze dropped to it. I slid out the divider page with the blue ink date and the small label. I did not explain. I let the paper do what words could not. My sister's husband's fingers twitched toward it. I lifted my hand, palm out, and he stopped. Nadine's eyes narrowed as she read the label. Approved by Jordan. May 3rd. That is not my handwriting, I said. Nadine's pen stopped moving. Where did you find this? On my sister's kitchen counter, I answered. The night her husband left. My sister's husband laughed once, sharp and fake. You are bringing church drama into an employment matter, he said. I looked at Nadine. I want the original document, I said. Not a copy he carried in. Nadine's mouth tightened. The original is in this file, she said, and tapped the manila folder. My pulse kicked. My fingers went cold. She opened the folder and slid the top page out farther this time. Enough for the signature block and witness line to be fully visible through the small gap she allowed. Not permission, a controlled view. My name sat there, Jordan Reyes. I leaned forward until the paper filled my vision. The handwriting was close to mine, but wrong in the small ways that matter. The curve on the J, the pressure on the R, the last stroke too heavy. My sister's husband watched me read it, then said softly, "See, you signed it." I lifted my phone and zoomed in, not on the signature, but on the line above it, the witness line. A printed name sat there, crisp and clean, Victor Shaw. The witness line had Victor Shaw's name in print. The courthouse smelled like wet paper and burnt coffee. I stood in the hallway outside the clerk window with my notebook open, the red folder tab tucked under my arm like it was part of my body now. My sister stood beside me in a plain cardigan, hands clasped so tight her knuckles looked chalky. Her son held a toy car in one fist, and my sleeve in the other. Across the hallway, my sister's husband leaned against a wall like he was waiting for a table at a restaurant. Aunt Lorna Keats hovered close, whispering into his ear. Noel Harper stood near a bench, with her purse zipped shut and her eyes fixed on the floor, like she regretted walking into this. Simone Price walked up with a thin stack of papers and a look that did not ask permission. "You brought your folder?" she asked me. I slid the red folder tab out and set it on the bench. "It is all here," I said. My sister's husband smiled at Simone like they were old friends. "This is getting dramatic," he said. Simone did not look at him. She looked at me. "Do not speak unless you have to," she said. "Let the paper talk." I checked the time twice on my phone. 8:12. Then again. 8:12. My sister's husband noticed and smirked, like my habits were still his toys. The courtroom doors opened, and a bailiff called names. People filed in with folders and tired faces. The room was not huge, but it felt public in the way that matters. A judge's chair, a seal on the wall. Strangers in the back row who did not know our story and did not need to. We sat. My sister kept her son close, his small shoes swinging above the floor. My sister's husband took the seat beside his attorney, posture relaxed, like this was another meeting he could control. Simone stood when our case number was called. She placed a document on the table with a flat, practiced motion. I saw the top line before anything else. A docket number, a date, the same black type from the notice. The docket number sat there like a bruise. My sister's husband's smile tightened. Simone spoke to the judge in a steady voice, the kind that does not beg. She referenced the hearing notice, then slid forward another page. A corrective action form, a signature line, a witness line. "Your Honor," she said, "this was used as leverage and as a cover." My sister's husband leaned in fast. "That is not what happened," he said, voice soft but sharp, aiming to sound reasonable. "Jordan asked me to help. She was under stress." He said my name like it was a tool he still owned. I stood, but Simone lifted one finger without looking at me. "Not yet." The judge glanced down at the form, then up at me. "Miss Reyes," the judge said, "did you sign this?" My mouth went dry. I could feel every eye in the room land on my face. "No," I said. "I did not sign it." My sister's husband exhaled, loud enough for the row behind us to hear, like I was embarrassing everyone. Simone lifted the red folder tab and pulled out the divider page with the blue ink date. She held it up without flourish. "This was found on the kitchen counter," Simone said. "The night he left." My sister's husband shifted in his seat. His knee started bouncing. He tried to hide it with his hand. Simone continued. "It is labeled approved by Jordan. May 3rd. That label is not her handwriting." The judge's eyes narrowed. My sister's husband's attorney started to object. The judge held up a hand. Simone placed down a bank statement next. 3 deposits, same day, same hour, $298, 3 times. The numbers looked almost polite until you stared at them long enough. 3 deposits, $298 each. Noel Harper, sitting behind us, made a quiet sound through her nose, like she could not unsee it. My sister's husband turned halfway, eyes cutting toward Noel, a warning without words. Noel did not look away. Simone said, "This pattern matches the timeline around May 3rd. My sister's husband leaned forward, voice rising just a little. "This is a private matter," he said. "She is trying to humiliate me." That word landed wrong, coming from him. I heard Sharon Pruitt's line in my head, sharp and public. "He's covering for you because you helped him cheat her." I stood before Simone could stop me this time. "At the church, she accused me of helping him," I said, "in front of Pastor Ray Caldwell and Deacon Thomas Givens and half the community hall." My sister's husband's jaw flexed. Aunt Lorna's hand flew to his arm like she could squeeze him back into control. I reached into my bag and took out my notebook, opening it to the page where I had written the times and names. I placed it on the table and tapped the ink with my finger. "May 3rd, I said. 8:15. Room 214. Nadine Brooks." My sister's husband's attorney blinked. My sister's husband went still. The judge looked at Simone. Simone nodded once. Simone turned the corrective action form so the witness line was visible, not just the signature. "Victor Shaw," she said, "printed as witness." My sister's husband's face drained, slow, like a screen dimming. The judge asked one question, calm and fatal. "Why was payroll involved in a corrective action form for attendance?" My sister's husband opened his mouth. Nothing came out. In the silence, my sister's son made a small sound, like he had been holding his breath too. He leaned forward and whispered, barely audible, but the microphone on the table caught it. "He said she signed," he murmured. "In the truck." A few heads turned. Someone in the back row shifted to get a better look at us. The courtroom was not loud, but it suddenly felt like everyone could hear everything. My sister's husband jerked his eyes toward the doors. He stood too quickly, chair legs scraping. His attorney grabbed his sleeve, trying to keep him seated, but he pulled free. The judge's voice hardened. "Sit down," the judge said. He did not. He walked out. I followed, not running, just moving with purpose. My sister stayed seated, shaking, Simone's hand on her shoulder like a brace. In the courthouse hallway, my sister's husband moved fast, head down, as if the exit sign could erase the docket number. Outside, the air hit like cold water. A patrol car sat at the curb, idling. 2 uniformed officers stood near the steps, faces neutral, hands visible. My sister's husband froze when he saw them. One officer stepped forward and said his full name like it had been written on paper first. "Sir, we need you to come with us. Telping say." The officer held a small card in his hand, reading from it once. "This is tied to case number 74219, he said. Aunt Lorna made a sound that was half prayer, half protest. My sister's husband looked straight at me, and for the first time, his eyes asked instead of told. "What did you do?" he whispered. I did not answer him. I pulled my phone from my pocket and looked at the newest notification, the one Simone had just forwarded to me. Subject: Corrective Action Form Original Submission, May 3rd. I stood on the courthouse steps with my phone in my hand and the winter air in my lungs, reading that subject line again like it could bite me. Corrective action form original submission. May 3rd. My sister's husband was already between the two officers, moving stiffly, eyes fixed forward. Aunt Lorna Keats hovered at the edge of it, hands fluttering, mouth opening and closing like she was searching for the right scripture to undo a docket number. My sister stepped out behind Simone Price, her son pressed against her hip. His toy car hung from his fingers, dangling and forgotten. He looked at the officers, then at his father, then at me, like he was cataloging who followed rules and who only pretended. Noel Harper stood by a column near the entrance, purse still zipped, face pale and tight. She watched the officer read the card again, that case number spoken in a steady voice that did not care about church reputations. My sister's husband turned his head once, searching for a person to blame. He landed on me. His lips moved. I could not hear the words. Simone's hand touched my elbow. "Do not answer," she said, low and firm. I did not answer. I watched the patrol car door open. I watched him step in. I watched the door shut with a sound that felt final, not dramatic. Across the plaza, people pretended they were not watching. A couple sitting on a bench stopped talking. A man with a coffee cup slowed his steps. In this town, news traveled faster than traffic. My sister made a small sound, half breath, half grief. She did not run after him. She did not call his name. She just looked down at her son and smoothed his hair twice, the same motion, like she was trying to teach her hands a new life. I checked the time twice without thinking. 9:12. Then again, 9:12. 9:12 stayed 9:12. We did not go back inside. Simone guided us to the side lot where my car sat under a bare tree. The red folder tab was still on the bench inside the hallway, and for a second, I saw myself running back for it like it was oxygen. Simone must have read my face. "I have it," she said, and pulled it from her tote bag. She held it out to me like a handoff, not a favor. I took it with both hands. The plastic tab flexed under my grip, that bright red edge that had followed me from a kitchen counter to a courtroom table. "What happens now?" my sister asked, voice thin. Simone kept her tone simple. "Nadine Brooks has to reconcile the file," she said. "Payroll has to explain why your brother-in-law had access to any of this. The court will not like the cover story." My sister flinched at the phrase cover story, like it was a slap. "And Jordan?" Noel Harper asked from behind us. We all turned. Noel had followed, slow and careful, like she expected someone to accuse her next. Noel's eyes met mine. "Those split deposits," she said. "That pattern. It is not normal." "It was never normal," I replied. Noelle nodded once, like she was swallowing a decision. "If anyone calls me," she said, "I will tell them what I saw." That was not an apology. It was not comfort. It was something better. It was a witness. Back at my sister's house, the afternoon light fell across the kitchen table corner in a soft rectangle. The house smelled like dish soap and old coffee. My sister's son kicked off his shoes and padded down the hallway, toy car rolling behind him, bumping into the baseboard with tiny thuds. My sister stood by the sink and stared at her hands. "I keep thinking I should have known," she whispered. I set the red folder tab on the table and opened it carefully, like a thing that could shatter. I did not pull out new papers. I did not hunt for a new clue. I just looked at what we already had, because it had been enough. "You were not allowed to know," I said. "That was the point." She nodded, slow, and a tear slipped down her cheek without any sound. She wiped it with the back of her hand like she was erasing chalk. I walked to the bathroom and washed my hands. The water ran hot, then cooled. I scrubbed under my nails like I could remove a week of being spoken for. When I came back, my phone buzzed once on the table. A message from Nadine Brooks. No emojis. No softness. Just procedure. It said my corrective action form had been placed on hold pending investigation, and that my presence was requested for a formal statement. I locked the phone and set it face down. I sat at the kitchen table corner with my notebook open, pen resting across the page. For the first time in days, I did not feel like my own handwriting could be stolen from me. My sister's son appeared in the doorway, toy car in his hand. He walked over and placed it on the table, right next to the red folder tab. Then he looked at his mother. He opened his mouth. My sister went still, like the whole room had paused for him. "I do not like the truck," he said, clear and small. My sister's face crumpled. She reached for him and pulled him into her lap, holding him with both arms like she had been saving that motion for years. He did not fight it. He leaned in. I watched them and felt something unclench inside my chest, slow and stubborn. I slid the red folder tab shut. I pressed it flat with my palm. I did not label it. I did not explain it. I just closed it, like closing a door that should have been locked the whole time. I closed the red tab and stopped checking the clock.